Greetings and welcome back to the channel. This is a message that everybody needs to hear. I mean, everybody, especially if you have dealt with narcissists and other very toxic people and you are unsure and you have reason not to trust and you just have questions about those who are entering your life. And we all should. So this is very simple. Did God send this person or did Satan? We've probably all wondered this. And for those of you watching who are people of faith, some of you may be thinking, that's pretty simple. It's pretty easy to determine, right? I would argue it's not. I would argue that it's actually rather difficult and can be rather difficult. There's far more to this question, did God send this person or did Satan, than meets the eye. And I'm going to unpack this very carefully and tell you numerous things to look for that will help you decide where this person came from, their origins. But it's far more difficult question than it appears to be. And the reason is evil masquerades as good. Satan's entire purpose in this world is to masquerade as one of the good guys. It's how he's done everything for eons. And let me read to you a passage of scripture that I quote often because we have to keep this in mind. It's very important. 2 Corinthians 11:14 to 15. This is what Paul says. He's talking about false prophets who have entered the church, but this really pertains to anybody who is of Satan and the way Satan operates. He says this: no wonder, for even Satan disguises himself as an angel of light. Therefore, it is not surprising if his servants also disguise themselves as servants of righteousness, whose end will be according to their deeds. Notice what he says there. Satan disguises himself as an angel of light. He's not coming looking evil. He's coming as your friend. He's coming as your neighbor. He's coming as somebody who's going to lift your life up. He doesn't come with a big sign on his head that says, I'm here to destroy you. And neither do his servants. The narcissist is the servant of the devil, and so are other people. So I want to go through here today and tell you it's not that simple, but if you're careful and you really know what to look for and how to distinguish between a person of the light sent by God and a person of the darkness sent by the devil, I think we can all be way better off. And these are things I've learned through my experience with multiple narcissists and studying other narcissists, listening to stories, reading scripture, contemplating, and I really think these can help. So let's jump into it. Before I get started, though, one last note. The biggest way that you can tell the difference between, or an essential way that you can tell the difference between these two things, doesn't even involve what to look for. It involves taking your time, going slowly with people. Don't just believe everything you see. Give it time to breathe. And I want to return to that at the end. So let's look at this. If this person that's sent into your life is a counterfeit, meaning they are disguised as an angel of light or a servant of righteousness, but they're actually from the devil, here are the things they're going to bring into your life. This is not an all-encompassing list, but this is some really important stuff. If they're a counterfeit, here's what they'll bring. One, a dark or shady or checkered past. I know what you're thinking. Well, everybody has a past. Granted, everyone has a past, and I'll get to that again later. But the narcissist and other people who are sent from the devil are going to have a very checkered and shady past. The more that they divulge to you, the more you're going to see a trail of broken relationships. They might even tell you things like, my relationships are always very quickly or very quick. They always move very fast. They always end fast. Or they'll tell you they have an endless series of relationships. Or they don't have to tell you, you just know it because maybe they've never been married and they're in their 30s and they've never had a relationship that lasted more than a year or two and nothing is ever sustainable with them and it's just over and over. Well, guess what, guys? If that's the truth for anybody, more likely than not, it's their fault. They're the common denominator. And also, they'll have horror stories about what exes did and what this person did, and it'll typically always be somebody else's fault. They'll have probably major issues that have occurred with their kids. Maybe they've had issues with family and they don't have relationships with family anymore. These maybe they've even had time with jail. Maybe they've been into drugs. Maybe who knows? But they're going to have a shady past. And whether we like it or not, guys, one of the problems we run into is that we want to give someone the benefit of the doubt so much and believe they can change so much that we ignore all kind of red flags. And guys, whether we like it or not, past behavior is a huge predictor of future behavior. It just is. Is it true for everyone? Is it an absolute? No, almost nothing is an absolute. But in general, if the person you're talking to or pursuing a relationship with has a very shady, checkered history, you really ought to consider getting out of it just based on that alone, unless you see some really obvious reasons to reconsider. Another thing that a person of Satan will bring into your life: a total lack of transparency and an inability to communicate. Yes, they are not going to be transparent with you. They are not going to communicate with you. This is the funniest thing, and I see this over and over with narcissists that I've experienced. They love to tell you, communication. You just got to communicate. Your past relationships would have worked if you had better communication. My past relationships would have worked if we just communicated. And guess what? The one thing is they'll never do: communicate. These people will not communicate with you. You never know where you stand with them. They won't address conflict. They will not resolve issues. They will never just be transparent and say, here's what I'm thinking about the relationship. Here's what I think about you. They always want you guessing. They want you constantly wondering where you stand with them. And they're never going to tell you, does this person, am I like a friend to him or her? Do they like me, romantically? Or is this relationship starting to do something? Or is it fizzling? And they're never going to tell you. You can ask them, and they will probably laugh or make some kind of joke or just ignore it altogether because they want you wondering and they want you pining for them. A total lack of transparency and communication. They are not going to reveal deep things about themselves. They're not going to address conflict when it comes up or make things clear or make things consistent. That's a major problem. And you can pick up on that lack of transparency and lack of communication as time goes on, even though they're going to project probably and tell you they're all about communication and transparency. Another thing: inconsistent behavior and patterns, inconsistencies. These people are generally very flaky. It goes back to what I said, that you don't know where you stand with them because their behaviors are all over the map. One minute they're really into you, the next minute they're cold and distant. And you're always left wondering, is it something I did? Did I over pursue? Did I under pursue? Did I say the wrong thing? Did I do? And that's where they want you. A servant of Satan wants you living in that limbo. And their patterns, like, with texting, for instance, they might be one day texting you to oblivion. And you're thinking, man, I mean, I'm getting pictures of kids and we're getting discussions about what seems to be really good, deep things. It feels like we're moving in the right direction. And then all of a sudden, flake and pull back and pull away. And if you look online, guys, and some of you have mentioned this, thankfully, Michael and I believe Lily, I want to name you guys who have mentioned this. A lot of dating coaches and relationship coaches today on YouTube and elsewhere, they are basically teaching people how to play a narcissistic, toxic game. Well, if things are going well and she suddenly pulls away and she's cold and distant, here's what you need to do because she's just trying to test you. Well, that's a bunch of crap. Someone who has interest, real interest in you, and is not dealing with a bunch of other people and is not trying to play games, shows you steady, consistent behavior. They're not going to text you all the time, then boom, they're gone. And then boom, they're back. They're not going to be sharing pictures with you and moving things in a particular direction. And then if you said maybe a wrong thing, or you over pursued, or and they're just like, that is not what consistency is about. It's not what people of God bring. People of God like you, think about what you want. You want someone who is steady and consistent and you know what to expect. Well, if you're dealing with somebody who is a person of God, they want the same things. They don't want you playing this game of like, is he interested? Well, I'm kind of interested, and now I'm not interested because he's interested, and I'm going to pull back and I'm going to see what he does. That's not how they operate. We hate those sorts of things. That's instability. The person sent from Satan thrives on those things. And the simplest way I can say this is because we experience with this with the narcissist, right, guys? The person never feels like they're all in. They feel like they have one foot in and one foot out all the time. Like the way I always explained it to people is what I felt is that I was being pushed away with one hand and pulled in with the other at all times. That is not the way a person of the Lord operates or a person that's right for your life. Another one, demeaning or critical attitude. You'll just pick up on this. This often doesn't take very long, but you'll see it as time goes on for sure. They just have a critical tone. Maybe you have great conversations and then it always ends with some sort of strange negative comment. And oftentimes what these people will do is they will emasculate you. They'll take if you're it's a female, they'll take your manhood. They'll make critical comments demeaning you as a man. Opposite is true. It's not the female covert narcissist especially thrives on emasculating people, but it works the other way too. People sent by Satan, if it's a man, will try to steal your womanhood. Will try to turn you into something that you're not. They want you. They want men to be women and women to be men. They want everything flipped because that's what Satan does. He flips everything that God intended. So demeaning or critical attitude, little pokes, little jabs, sarcastic, jokey burns. You will pick up on those things. People of the Lord don't do that to each other. Another one, they are always pushing boundaries. They want to push everything that means anything to you. You feel like you're constantly being tested in every way. Examples, you have a set bedtime. Roughly, as adults, I get it. It fluctuates, but you try to have something of a set bedtime because you work a consistent schedule. You got to get up early. You sleep better when it's not all over the place, right? But they don't respect that. They want to keep you up. They want to say, they might even say things like, are you breaking your boundaries? Because they like to do that. They want to see how far they can push you. If you have a schedule for anything, they want to try to disrupt the schedule. Maybe they know you're available these certain times of the week, so they won't talk to you then. But maybe you're indisposed, others, and that's when they want to talk to you because they want to disrupt your schedule. Another thing, sexual standards. A person sent by Satan, it doesn't take very long till they're sending you suggestive photos or making very suggestive comments or seeing what you'll do, testing your principles, testing your boundaries, trying to get you to compliment them in ways that are not instead of things like that's a lovely outfit, really looks good. I love the way your hair looks when it's down. No, 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 that's not good enough. They want to hear things about how you're going to twist them into a pretzel and do very unseemly things. That's what they want you to tell them. And if you don't give them the right compliments, they'll just say, you really need to work on your compliments. These are the things that they'll do. They want to break all your boundaries, and they're always pushing them. Another thing someone sent by Satan will do, data mining. They want to know everything there is to know about you very, very quickly. They want to know your past relationships, why it failed, why you don't think it worked, what the person did to push your buttons, things you really want out of a relationship. They want to know your child situation. They want to know your schedules. They want to know intimate details about your life, what you've gone through, what you've experienced. And they are very good. They are experts at pulling this information out. Why do they want to know it? A, so they can know who you are and know how to best manipulate you. But B, so they can take that information, put it in their back pocket so that they can pull it out and put it in the Gatling gun anytime they want and just hammer you with it. Anything you tell a person sent by Satan in confidence will come back and be weaponized against you later on. It will be. So they're always data mining. They want to know everything there is to know about you as quickly as possible. Last thing, this is the biggest one, easily the biggest one. A person that's sent by Satan, they're going to bring confusion into your life. There is no stability. There is no peace. There is no steady, calm, reciprocal relationship stuff with them. They want you always wondering, is this relationship going anywhere? Are they invested? Are they not invested? They're going to breadcrumb you. And that is the biggest thing they do, guys. They come back after times of silence and ghosting you, whatever, and they're going to hit you with like all these texts, and maybe they want to talk, and maybe they even want to get together, but it isn't consistent. And it leaves you saying, I don't know how this person feels about me. We've been dating for 3 months, 6 months, and I still don't know how they feel about me because it's so on and off. It's high low. It's a roller coaster. It's all over the map. And they want to keep you in that constant state of disorientation where you just don't know what's going on. Trust me, guys, of all the things I've mentioned, a person sent by Satan will bring confusion into your life above everything else. However simple and peaceful your life was prior to their entrance into your life, it's going to be, measure it. It's going to be far more confusing and far more disorienting than it was prior to their arrival. Compare your peace and stuff before they came with how you feel now that they've arrived. And I guarantee you, if it's a person sent by Satan, you're going to realize you're way more confused than you were. So, if those are hallmarks of someone sent by Satan, what about those who are actually sent by God? Well, basically, as you can imagine, every one of those things I've already mentioned, you can take and flip upside down. And that is a person sent by God. So let's look at this. If they're sent by God, they're going to have a much more consistent and clean past. I get it, guys. I understand there are all kind of people who had a very rough background and checkered past who then came to the Lord and were saved, and you're a new creation in the Lord. That is true. But generally speaking, these are all generalities, right, guys? It's not absolutes. Someone who is sent by God is not going to have an incredibly chaotic past. Mistakes they do make are not going to be repeated, at least not very much. So, in other words, things that you're not going to see, an endless series of very small, flaming out relationships. Somebody who's never been able to sustain a healthy relationship for any length of time, really. Someone that even if they were with another person for years or married, they might tell you, well, it was never good. It was always bad. It was always on and off. Guys, those are big problems with a person sent by Satan. You won't have those with a person sent by God. They'll have rational explanations for what happened. Maybe they'll just admit, I made a lot of mistakes. This is how it was. I've learned from it. But they'll be clear, and they won't have this crazy checkered past that scares the life out of you. Another thing, a person sent by God is going to be clear and transparent in their communication. You will know where you stand. You will know their intentions with you. You're not going to have to sit and wonder, have I been friend zoned? Am I just a friend, or do they have interest in me? We were dating, and now we're just kind of talking about trivial, frivolous stuff. I don't know what they want. That doesn't happen with the person of God. They're much more clear in their intentions. If someone sent by God wants to date you, you're going to know they want to date you. If they just want to be friends with you, they'll tell you, hey, I'm not looking for a relationship. I see you more as a friend. And you can take it or leave it at that point, but you'll know. The communication will be clear and transparent. You won't have to wonder where you stand. They will also be consistent in their behavior and their patterns, as much as human beings can be. They will not have obscure, weird texting. They will not be meeting with you and building a relationship and it's going in the right direction and then just go, not going to do it. Because they're not going to risk losing you. If they recognize your value and are capable of doing it, they're a person of God, they're not going to risk just walking away and playing some game or testing you to the max until you're like, you just tested me right out of my interest. Person of God isn't going to do that. Would you do that? If you met a kind, wonderful person who you really liked, are you suddenly going to just pull away and disappear? Are you going to make it endlessly difficult for them and make them jump through endless loops? You're not going to do it because you don't want to risk them just walking away. So their behavior with texting, another thing. However, whatever the pattern is you've developed with this person, and it can vary, whatever that pattern of texting is, that's what you will see. You're not going to see, oh, didn't hear anything for 3 days out of nowhere when we normally communicate regularly. And then they're back and they're texting me and blowing my phone up, and then they're gone. It's not going to happen. A man or woman of God is going to be consistent in their behavior and their patterns. Another thing they'll do, they will bring an uplifting attitude and an encouraging voice into your life. They will want to uplift you. They will want to support you. Whatever you're going through, whatever you're sharing with them, if it's work, if it's children's situation, if it's personal problems, they're not going to degrade and devalue. They're not going to be there naysaying. They're not going to be making jokes. They're going to be encouraging. They're going to see how they can help. That is a very, very huge difference between a person sent by God and a person sent by the devil. They're uplifting. They're not demeaning. They're encouraging. They're not trying to slight you and get their jabs in on you. So look for that in somebody sent by God. Another one, they will respect your boundaries. They will let you be you. Person sent by God is not going to say, oh my gosh, I can't believe you go to bed then. Well, that's disappointing. That's disappointing. They're not going to do that. They're not going to say, well, I know your schedule is to do this, but let's flip that upside down and let's change the schedule. I know it's easy for you to meet here, but no, I want to meet there. They're going to just let you be you and respect whatever boundaries it is. If you're like, I don't really want to share this particular part of my life with you right now, then they'll respect it. Say, that's cool. That's fine. They'll let you open up on your time and when you are ready and prepared to do it. They won't be trying to data mine you and get everything out in the blink of an eye. So they'll respect your boundaries. Another thing, there's two left. They're going to be sensitive about pushing you for details, which is kind of something I already hinted at. They don't want to make you uncomfortable. They're not going to try to give you this feeling of unrest, of uneasiness. They're not going to push the relationship faster than you are comfortable with it going. But they're also not going to slow walk it to the point where you don't even know where they stand. There will be reciprocity. There will be understanding and mutual understanding about the direction you want to go with things, at least to a degree. And the last thing, guys, of course, the biggest one, and I hit this all the time because it's so critical. A person sent by God is going to bring peace into your life, not confusion. Like I said, however much peace you had in your life prior to them coming into your life, that should either be totally maintained, you should not lose your peace, or you should have increased peace. You should not have to constantly ruminate about what they're doing, when they'll reach out to you, what's going on, how do they feel. You shouldn't have to be at work crunching numbers or whatever you do and then thinking about this person and when are they going to text? Haven't heard from them. It's been like 2 days and we used to talk all the time. They will bring peace into your life. And at minimum, they will not remove your peace. If you're somebody who has a high level of it, very, very calm, peaceful existence, they may not add a bunch of peace because there's not a ton to add to that, but they won't take anything from it. If you're not at a high level of peace, they may add peace to your life because that's what God does. He's the author of peace and not confusion. All confusion comes from the devil. So, guys, these are all things that differentiate a person of God from a person from the devil. Were they sent by God or were they sent by Satan? These things, I hope, guys, will be helpful for you and there'll be guidelines that you can roughly follow. But I want to add the final thing. Everything that I mentioned, though I believe fully valid, Never underestimate the last one. Peace. And also understand time. How do you distinguish these things? They don't happen overnight. It doesn't happen in a day. It doesn't happen maybe in weeks. It sometimes doesn't happen in months because people are very good fakes. They're con artists. The narcissist is the ultimate con artist. You've got to let a relationship breathe. Go slowly. Not saying years and years and years. You should not be jumping into something serious in weeks or even a few months. Let it play out. Let these things I talked about, let them have time to develop, because you will see these patterns as you go on, because time reveals all people and all things. So guys, I hope you found this very useful. Please drop comments below if you did. I'm very anxious to hear what you have to say. Come at you with another one here soon. Until then, God bless.